Ready when you are.
Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. And with me today is a very special guest. He's an Emmy Award winner, an MMA pioneer. He's the man who found John Cena, the Ultimate Warrior Sting, amongst many others. He's an entrepreneur, a producer, an agent, an author, a podcast host, and of course, the former UPW light heavyweight champion, actually lightweight champion. He is Mr. Rick Bassman. Rick, welcome back to the Two Man Power Trip. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm listening to the intro thinking two things. One, I should probably get a real job and quit jumping around all over the place. And two, I need to go to the John Paz School of Broadcasting to adopt that style that you have. But I'm doing good, man. I'm tired. It's been a crazy, crazy few days here with like almost no break at all. But I kind of feel like this is a break. I always like talking with you. I'm sure it will be light and we'll have some fun. And I'm doing good. Life is good, man. Here on Maui.
What have you been up to? Well, you've been keeping very busy, but what have you been up to?
Well, nothing that's probably going to interest or entertain your listeners or viewers. Just life stuff. But probably the biggest thing for me, it's the big shift. I mean, you know my story, and I was pretty isolated and depressed and all that for a while, and I shut myself in, and I just really in the past year or so have come out of it. So I'm out in the water a lot, in the ocean here in Hawaii. Swimming, body surfing. Picked up a sport called pickleball, which is like the craze that's sweeping the nation, and I freaking am addicted to it already. I love it. Spending some time with the ladies again, which I haven't done for a while, so that's been nice. But work wise, just busting ass and really dedicated to the work I'm doing in the cancer field, especially, and the podcast, as you mentioned, and staying busy, doing a bunch of different things, and it's all blending nicely for sure.
You're keeping busy talking tough. We win. You're keeping very busy in the podcast game, as well as the helping out your fellow man game.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying it. That's some heavy work sometimes on in We Win, which is helping people that are facing cancer or other life threatening challenges, and doing what I can to impart some hope to people that otherwise wouldn't have it. So I love it. It's gratifying. It's challenging. I feel like it's doing something good. It's being of service, which I love to be. So yeah, I enjoy that. And of course, I'm spending a lot of time. I can't neglect to mention this with Wilson and Eos and Dennis and my new baby Bengal, and loving and appreciating my doggies. That's for sure.
You keep adding a dog every day. You keep adding another dog, another dog.
I think I like the four. I like having four. I don't know why. It just seems like the right number. So we're at four right now, and God willing, knock on something. It is four for a while.
That's kind of like the power team, the original power team, just the four guys. You know what I mean? You like to keep it at four.
Dude, you know what? I think about Power Team USA every now and then, and I think it would be so freaking funny if one of the current companies, probably WWE, tried that now in today's world. It would be really funny. I mean, they could certainly come up with a good-looking, jacked up Asian dude, a Latino one, a Caucasian one, and a black one, and dress them in red, white, and blue. It'd be so funny to watch those guys come out and portray like the all American heroes, because they get like they'd be instant mega heels. You know that, because that
Yeah.
would never be accepted in today's world. But it would be awesome, man. I kind of wish that WWE would steal this idea from me instead of some others they have in the past, and give it a shot. It'd be really cool. I'd be a fan.
I would love it. You're right, though, because remember when Angle came out, you think the Olympic gold medalist is going to be a baby face. Nope, boot out of the building. They would definitely be heels.
Yeah, back when I started, like in '85, the whole world was about, or at least not the world, the whole country, our country was about America versus the world, and everybody stood behind America. There was very little division in our country at that time. It was all about, the red, white, and blue. We were just out of the Cold War. There was a hostage crisis in Iran, and obviously that's where the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov came from. They were the pro wrestling personifications of the hostage crisis and the Cold War. So you wonder why that worked so well. against Wyndham and Rotundo, the American Express. Wyndham and Rotundo would probably get booed now as the American
Yep.
Express. It's just different times. That's all. That's kind of why it'd be funny to do it, to have the four guys come out and pretend like they really are heroes and just not register the fact that the audience hates them. I think that'd be awesome.
So I would love that idea as well. So people that don't know, the original Power team consists of two very famous guys, Sting and the Ultimate Warrior, and then two maybe not so famous guys, right?
And a whole bunch of other revolving guys that came in and out through the years. Yeah, but the reason I think those four are so well remembered amongst the rest, well, Sting and Warrior for the obvious reasons. They're Sting and Warrior. The other two is every time we had a new member or the group changed, we did photo shoots. So there are hundreds and thousands of photos of the different configurations, but there was only that one group of four that made all the magazines, and those photos still live to this day. So that's why I think it looked at as they were always the only four guys, when in fact they weren't. But that's all right.
Garland Donahue still kicking, right?
Yeah, he is. And Mark Miller, who for many years was my best friend in the business. Mark's no longer with us. He left us a long time ago now. Seems like decades ago almost.
That's interesting. Out of all those guys, obviously Sting still very, very prominent in wrestling in AEW as we speak, but the Ultimate Warrior has become very, very prominent again because of two documentaries that are coming out. One
Right,
A&E biography, and then
right.
one is on Dark Side of the Ring. So one
Hmm.
is going to be a happy one, a good one, and it looks like the other one is going to be a not so happy one. I wonder kind of how they're going to do that on Dark Side of the Ring. But here's the question, and I've heard you answer a million Warrior questions, but what about this one? Were you interviewed for either one of these documentaries?
No, and I was contacted though by both of them, and I respectfully passed on participating in both.
Really? Why?
Um, well, yeah, Dark Side of the Ring one is going to be dark, as you said, and I will disagree with you on the other one being a happy one. I didn't; it wasn't presented to me that way.
Oh, okay.
It'd be hard to make a Happy Warrior documentary. It really would. It'd be a work, obviously. It'd be all the
Mhm.
stuff we saw, on screen, which is fine. I mean, it'd be nice if they did it that way. Um, they both came at me the same way. They were looking to, dig up the dirt and do just, less, not less and less, more and more as I go on at this point in my life. I just don't like to go after people anymore. I don't want to be part of that. Other than your boy, Jim Cornette, who I'd still love to bit slap the snot out of because that would just make my day or my week or my year even. Um, I don't want to talk shit about anybody anymore, man. And the gym thing now to me is all in good fun. There's no animosity either. I just think it'd be fun. That's all.
With the Warrior one, I'm surprised that they were saying with the A&E one because it's a WWE sponsored biography, and they, his wife works there, or his obviously widowed wife, but she works for WWE as a writer. They put
Hmm.
him in the Hall of Fame. They have the Warrior Award every year. I'm surprised
Hmm.
that they would let it be kind of a little bit of bashing. I'm surprised it wouldn't be a work a little bit more.
And I could very easily have it wrong. I had one phone conversation with one guy for 10 minutes, and that's what gave me the impression I just shared with you. So I could very well be wrong. It's possible. But then again, it didn't feel to me like I would have a place in a Warrior documentary. That's all. Did not have a relationship with him at all past the time that Power Team broke up. We only saw each other one time in person after that in all those years, and it didn't interest me for one thing. But I also don't think I would have had anything to contribute to it, so I passed.
I can see why they would want to ask you though. You found him, you kind of brought
Yeah,
him into prominence and
sure.
stuff. There's no doubt, that they would have interest in you for sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, they always want the origin story for your superheroes, of course, and he certainly was that. He was a larger than life superhero, no doubt. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate their asking. I do, and I appreciate your saying that you saw the value in them asking, but just a decision I made. That's all. No big deal.
So you and Warrior did not have a good relationship, but maybe the exact opposite was you and the Stinger. You guys have a great and still have
Yeah,
a great relationship to
yeah,
this day.
yeah. Me and Sting are good, man. Last time I spoke with Sting was just a couple weeks ago. Put him on Cameo, and he was very resistant to that for years, for the 4 years Cameo's been around. So we were finally able to break that door down and get Sting on Cameo. But our relationship is much more and much different than business or just business. Certainly, he's a good guy. We talk often. What I say often, twice a month, 3 times a month. I guess that's often. And dude, he's just a good human being. He really is.
Gotta love the Stinger. I still can't believe though he's wrestling and how great of shape he's in. Usually guys that are 62, like I think somebody played a video online I saw when the Iron Sheik won that battle royal at WrestleMania 17. I think he was 60, and Sting is
So
62.
good.
Remember how bad Sheik looked in that
He could barely
WrestleMania?
walk. I mean,
Yeah.
the joke is, the joke. They put him over because there's no way he could get over the top rope. No, that was the word, and it's probably true. I wouldn't
Yeah.
doubt it. Yeah, I mean, and you remember the Bobby Heenan line, something along the lines of, by the time she gets to the ring, it'll be WrestleMania 80 or whatever it was, he said,
Yeah.
or some other number. But, I think I probably told you this story before. I'm all over the place. We can come back to Sting in a minute. But
Mhm.
I almost got in that battle royal, the gimmick battle royal. I told you that story, of course, right?
Yeah, but let's hear it again. That's an awesome story.
Okay, well, it's in Houston, of course, and WWF was on fire, and there were 3 developmental territories at that time, and we were all feeding a ton of talent to WWF, me more than the others, and they invited us. They invited us developmental territory owners to be their guests in Houston. They flew us out. They put us up in a hotel, got us to and from and all that. We went to the parties, so it was really nice, and I'm backstage at WrestleMania itself, and Bruce Pritchard and I are talking, and right at that moment, somebody says, "Hey, Hector's not here." Hector, as in Hector Guerrero, and they're getting ready to start the gimmick battle royal. And Hector, of course, was the gobbledygooker, the infamous turkey. I think it was a turkey, the infamous turkey gimmick. And Bruce turns to me and I go, "Bruce, dude, put me in the suit. I'll do it. I want to do it." He's like, "Great. You sure?" I go, "Absolutely." He goes, "Okay." Just like that. Okay. And 10 minutes before bell time, Hector showed up. Oh, man, I was so bummed. I was so bummed. I can still hear the commentary in my ear right now. And it would have been something like Bobby Heenan going, "Oh my God, why is the turkey beating the shit out of Jim Cornette?" I could hear it right now still, all these years later. But oh well.
Hector was late to the building. That would have been great if he just no showed.
Oh, that I was hoping. I was so bummed when he showed up. Yeah, he lives in Houston or did at the time. So, everybody else flew in. So he just drove himself there and was a little bit late. That's all. Oh
Now,
well.
did you have any other business going on backstage besides some UPW business, or are you just hanging out?
Just pretty much hanging out. Yeah, we're just invited to be part of the party and the whole deal. I remember sitting backstage talking with Tori, not Tori Wilson, but the other Tori. Do you remember
Hmm.
her?
Yes.
And we're having a nice chat. And we're at the Astrodome. It's huge underneath, the concourses and the backstage area. And we're sitting there, and the Iron Sheik, the aforementioned Iron Sheik, comes waddling up to us. And I had never met the guy before. He's like, "Hello." I said, "Hi." And he looks at Tori and he goes, "Woman." I swear to God, I'm not making any of this up or changing the words at all. "Woman." She's like, "Yes." He's like, "Will you be here for a while?" And she goes, "Yes." He took his bag he was carrying, put it down on the table. He goes, "Okay, woman, watch my bag." And he waddled away. And just goofy stuff like that all weekend, man. I mean, that's so random. That's one in a billion stupid little things that aren't interesting, but slice of life backstage at WWF.
You got a little cheeky. You gotta love him.
Gotta love Sheiky, man. I would have liked to have been in that car with him and Duggan when they got pulled over for doing rails on the interstate while they were in a feud. That would have been
Hey,
fun.
hey, that was in New Jersey. That was on the Turnpike.
Ah, the
Not too far from
turnpike.
me. Yeah,
All right, there you go. You could have been right there with them, John.
I know. I was too young to be with those two guys. They kind of exposed the
Probably.
business a little bit there, though, breaking some kayfabe. The heels and the faces shouldn't be
That was
traveling
bad. That
together.
was a big deal back then. Yeah. Yeah. You didn't do that kind of stuff. Didn't get caught for it and written up for what it was they actually did. That
Yeah,
was not, as I say, a good look for the company.
definitely not. Now, just getting back to your boy, the Stinger, for a second.
Thing.
just shocked, 62 years old wrestling, but he looks great. He took a bump, he took the power bomb, even though he had some spinal stenosis issues. I mean, he is a kind of a freak of nature if you think about the age and what shape he's in. He seems like he's, 10 years younger, maybe even 15 years younger.
Yeah, I mean, he lives clean. He's lived clean for a long, long time. He hasn't taken a lot of abuse. He's not one of those guys that always felt the need to come back and come back and come back. Um, so a lot of it, I think, is just preservation. The other is he lives clean and he, conducts his life in a smart manner. And he probably got some good genetics on his side too. So it's been a winning combination of attributes, thankfully. And I just hope he doesn't get too comfortable and start to really do some crazy stuff. But I don't think he will.
Did you help make that connection with him and Tony Khan and AEW? Did you help get him
I
back
had,
in
no,
the business at all?
I had nothing to do with that. No. Nope. I'd like to say that I did, but I would be lying. So no, I had nothing to do with that.
I believe he was saying that Sting's son was trying out for the Jaguars at one point. I believe that's what Tony said. Which his son was a very good college football player. I think he played tight end for
Yes.
Kentucky.
Right. Yeah. I know he plays, high level college ball. I did not know about the Jaguar connection though. Not aware of that.
I think that's how it all went down. I think, but who knows with the wrestling business? You know what I mean? You never know. You would probably know better than anybody the connections that can be made.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. One thing leads to another, man, certainly. Time after time, no doubt about it. But yeah, I'm glad to see him back and doing his thing, and he's a good guy. I do happen to think, although I'm looking at myself on the screen right now, I'm looking pretty old and haggard. Oh my God, it's been a rough few days. Plus, I am drinking a glass of wine midday because I didn't need it, I wanted it. I've been busting ass for 5 days straight, John, with almost no break. But aside from looking old and haggard, I'm going to say this: Sting, I am 3 years younger than you, but I am in better shape than you, and I will be when I'm 62 also. I'm just saying.
Is that a
I'm
direct
pretty. I
shot at the
feel good
Stinger?
physically,
Wow.
man. I'm in really good shape physically, if I say so myself. And it's nice to feel that way as we advance in our years, for sure. So
Yeah.
good for Sting, and good for me. And there you are.
Is it harder to stay in shape though? I mean, as you get older and older, does it get harder and harder, or not really?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course it does, because your cardio capacity diminishes, your flexibility, your propensity for injury increases. Our skin doesn't hold up the same way that it used to. I mean, I'm actually getting like a bunch of stuff done on my face soon. I don't mind admitting that here, because time has a way of creating these wrinkles and all this sort of thing. So thankfully, they have stuff now that you can use to take care of that. But for the body and stuff, I mean, you know my diet's good. I do a ton of reps every day. I do 1,000 reps a day of something. Not one thing. I just divide it up until I get to 1,000 total. And like my musculature really, really good right now. Most of my abs in, but the skin doesn't look the same as it used to. And it's an age thing. What are you gonna do?
Did you always want to be a wrestler? Is that why you always try to stay in shape, or no, never?
No, no, I did not want to be a wrestler. No, I know better than that, John. Oh my God. I don't know why. It's just a thing. I don't really have never really had a reason to do it. No. Mm-mm.
You've had
I
some
wish I had a
matches
better answer.
though.
Sorry. I mean, I know you're waiting for a great answer. I don't have it. I would, I would like to do some things physically still that I think I'm now slowly realizing I just will never do, like another fight. Um, I wanted to take a shot at the world bench press record in my weight class, but certain injuries are going to prevent me, I think, from ever legitimately having a chance to do that. So I guess those are reasons to be in shape, but normally it just feels good to do it. That's all.
You've had some matches though. You've been in there before. You some
Just a
UPW
few,
matches.
yeah. Mainly gimmicky kind of stuff. You mentioned that I was a UPW lightweight champion. I actually didn't have a match. I just gave myself the belt one night. I took the strap because I was the owner and I could do what I wanted. Right, storyline, of course. I had a match against Roland Alexander when we had the UPW versus APW feud, and we had a 1 minute match. And the reason we made it 1 minute, well, pretty obvious. Roland probably was going to blow up after 40 seconds if he was going to last that long. And then the other reason for keeping it so short in a minute was we both knew that neither of us had the ability to do anything remotely entertaining for longer than a minute. So that was our 1 minute match. I had well, the other ones you probably wouldn't know. You wouldn't know my debut opponent. It was awful. The match was horrifically bad in front of a sold out high school of like 3,000 people. It was really bad. Tom Howard interfered though and helped me get the win. So at least we had that moment. And then I wrestled Shinya Hashimoto in the main event at Korakuen Hall. That was a thrill, man. I have the photos from it where I'm facing off against him from across the ring. That's pretty. I look at that now and go, wow, I still can't believe that I did that. It feels pretty surreal for that to have happened. And then my one I'm really proud of is the match at my 5th anniversary show when I wrestled Pete Doyle, who was now the evil commissioner of UPW after I came back as a benevolent good guy owner. And we had a no holds barred match for ultimate control of UPW. And that was on the same show that we had Shamrock against Predator, Sylvester Terkay. Jimmy Snuka versus Adam Pearce on that show. Weird lineup. Ivory came back and wrestled our women's champion. Evan Courageous, Jerry Lynn, odd grouping of people. And that's the same one that Hall and Nash came back and did their first match on after their disbandment of the NWO. So I got to headline that show and win the match. And after that, suddenly, surprise, Vince McMahon appears on the big screens and congratulated me on my victory and UPW on its 5th year anniversary. So I still mark out for that moment, man. That was pretty cool.
That is awesome. You had to do a lot of convincing to get Vince to do that?
No, you know what? I don't remember whose idea it was. It may have been my idea. It may have been Todd Kennelly, Anthony Rosas, may have been Pete Doyle's idea. I don't remember. I called either JR or Bruce in talent relations. I knew Vince. And I said, hey, do you think Vince will do this? And they're like, I don't know. I said, how about if we write it up and send it in and we'll just see what he says? And then I got a call from Bruce a few days later. He's like, I can't believe it. I'm like, what's that? He goes, Vince took your script and nailed it word for word. And it's on the way back to you. I'm like, that's awesome. I still have it. It's on, I have it on VHS here somewhere.
Wow, it's awesome. Damn, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a really cool moment for sure.
That is great. How is the relationship with Vince over the years? Was it a relationship considering you were kind of not OVW, but you were kind of OVW before OVW was really OVW? You were like the lead developmental. You were bringing in the most guys to WWE.
Yeah.
So how was
Mhm.
the relationship with Vince?
For the most part, good. I mean, we had our ups, we had our downs for sure, no doubt about it. when, like for instance, when Hulk Hogan's Celebrity Championship Wrestling debuted, if you remember that show on
Oh yeah.
CMT, that show came out. It aired on a Sunday, and I remember the only reason I remember this was Monday, and I'm in my car on the way to the San Diego Sports Arena for Monday Night Raw. I'd go to all the shows when they're in town. I'd go be backstage and take care of business, hang out, see everybody. And as I'm on the way there, I get a call, and I forget who it was. Somebody in probably talent relations say, "Oh, it was John. It was John Laurinaitis, I think. May have been. Hey, Rick, you can't come to the show." And I'm like, why not? I'm on the way. Vince saw you on Hogan's deal last night and you're banned from backstage. So it's like stuff like that would happen. It was ups, it was downs. There was, the time that Tough Enough, which was very much my creation, was essentially taken from me. That's a down. There was another time when I got in a big financial bind with UPW, big bind with UPW, and needed a bailout. And I spent like an hour, not an hour, like a day, writing this like 3-page masterpiece to WWF, asking them for a loan, saying, "Hey, basically said we're in trouble. We need your help." That's 3 pages said that. Explain why I thought we deserved it, and so on and so forth, and how it could help us, and if they helped us, how it could help them. I got a phone call back, and this was Johnny Ace. I remember this. I didn't get a call back. I got an email back. After my 3 pages, the email said, "How much do you need?" Because I didn't put it in the letter. So I spent about another 2 hours explaining why I needed $75,000. And then I get a phone call from John. He goes, okay, I talked to Vince about this. He goes, Vince is not going to loan you the money. And I'm like, damn. I go, I was going to be out of business, right? He goes, Vince is going to give you the money. And I'm like, holy shit.
Wow.
Had a check overnight. So there's been great moments like that too, amazing. And he's always been nice to me. There was a time I was consulting for them on their potential move into the mixed martial arts space. So they would fly me from California to Connecticut, spend time with Vince in his office there, and he was great. So mostly good, although you always have the little hiccups in the relationship, especially in this business.
What's he like on a one-on-one, like when you're dealing with him like that?
I don't even know how you would describe it. I mean, he's a very, very strong presence for sure, as I'm sure you can imagine. He's not he is who you see on TV. Obviously, he turns it up a lot when he's in the Mr. McMahon character. Otherwise, yeah, he's just like a very solid, very commanding presence. Very smart, very direct. I mean, eye to eye contact at all times. But I always felt very comfortable with him, and just think of him, all in all, as a good man for sure.
What about Johnny Ace? What's he like?
Oh, Johnny Ace. Oh man. What to say about Johnny? I would try to do a Johnny Ace voice. Everybody can do it. I never could quite muster it. John's okay. I used to really like him a lot, and he kind of cooled off toward the end of our relationship. He wasn't quite the gregarious, friendly guy he always had been. I spent a lot of time with Johnny Ace, and I really can't say that I know him as a person, though, oddly enough. Like Bruce, Pritchard, Jim Ross, when they ran talent relations, we spent a ton of time together. We go out and eat Korean barbecue, we go out for sushi, we'd have cocktails together, we'd do business together. And they were just, I mean, they're friends. They're great, great guys. Really like warm, cool dudes.
UPW had so many guys kind of come through there. Talk about some of the names and the talents that really came through there and when ended up really WWE and WWF.
Well, for the ones that went to WWE and WWF, there's almost two different types, I would say. What I mean by that is there were a lot of people that set foot in a pro wrestling ring for the first time ever at one of my two school locations, Ultimate University, either in Los Angeles or in Orange County. And those were guys like John Cena, who you mentioned before, The Miz, never been in a ring until he started with my system. Victoria, um, Chris Masters. The list goes on and on. Then there were guys that had gotten their seasoning somewhere else and had got some of their training, if not had become already really good, that then came to me as a way to get them to the next level. Because I had developed with UPW a relationship of really being able to move people on. And when it wasn't WWF, I was able to get people into WCW and into ECW and over to Japan. So there was a time when UPW was like really the talent hub of the US. And guys that came in that had started elsewhere, that made the leap to the big time from my system were Paul London, Brian Kendrick, Luther Reigns, Ivory, Nova, Simon Dean. And that list also goes on and on and on. Chris Daniels, I got into WCW. Yeah, just it continues and continues.
So much talent, so many great guys. What do you think like UPW like legacy? Think a lot of people remember UPW?
I think the funny we were around for in the grand scheme of things, we were around for such a short period of time. It was just a 7 year run, but and it's been gone for a long time now. I mean, I think it's 13, 14 years now that UPW ceased to exist. But it was so explosive in that short period of time, and it did amongst other milestones, having the first legit pro wrestling documentary on major television. Having our DVDs everywhere in Walmart and Target and Kmart back when DVDs were a thing. Got mainstream media coverage everywhere. So the company brand itself was very well known at that point in time. Dave Meltzer gave us our own section in the Wrestling Observer for a while. That's a milestone in pro wrestling, obviously. And then beyond that, or above that, or apart from that, the talent, of course, that came for us or from us. It was such a big group of big name guys and girls both, that even though we lasted for a short period of time, I think people that are fans that know anything about the history of the business will always remember UPW, at least to a degree.
No doubt about it. And the documentary, right? That was kind of the first real eye-opening thing to the business where you can really learn about the business and learn the craft of the business. Maybe expose the business a little bit, but I think it's been exposed before that, though.
The business, yeah, that was called Inside Pro Wrestling, and then Pro Wrestling School is a long title. Inside Pro Wrestling dash Pro Wrestling School, and that was on the Discovery Channel. And yeah, I mean, the idea of kayfabe being broken had already occurred. So we weren't, the first to go public with, the quote unquote behind the scenes. I think up until that time, we definitely did the very best job of it. I co-executive produced a show with Tom Beers, who is one of the top guys now in the history of the reality industry. He created and produced shows like Ice Road Truckers, Axemen, Deadliest Catch. I mean, one of the top dogs in that industry. And Tom and I did it together. And I think we were really, really respectful to the business, even though we show what happens behind the scenes. One note that you for sure would have come away with is this is hard. This is not something for everybody by any means. We got into showing what the physical toil, the emotional toil, the mental toil, no doubt about it. So I think it was very real and very shoot, but very respectful at the same time. I'll stand by that to this day. Absolutely.
And there's some guys that didn't quite make it that were in UPW that had some pretty damn good name value, like Joe Millionaire, Evan Marriott, and a bunch of
Oh
other
yeah.
guys that went through that people probably forgot about. And you're like, oh my God, Joe Millionaire, he was a wrestler, and like
Yeah, yeah.
pretty cool stuff that UPW kind of came in
Yeah,
and out of.
we had a lot of that. We had a lot of famous people in our ring, like Roddy Piper. Roddy would come by often, and Roddy and I actually trained Johnny Knoxville for his one deal, just the two of us. Um, Tom Howard, Jack Black for Nacho Libre. Um, I trained Jimmy Kimmel and Cousin Sal for their match. So we would have these people through for often. I got a call one day again from talent relations. I don't remember who, saying, "Hey Rick, Rock is coming back for WrestleMania. He's going to main event with Hogan." And Rock had been away for a few years at this point, and we want to know if we can send him by the school to work off his ring rust. Sure, of course, absolutely. So I rolled out the red carpet for him. I brought all of our instructors in to work with him, which I think at the time was Tom Howard, Kevin Quinn, Aaron Aguilera, the Ballard brothers, Frankie Kazarian, good group of guys. And in came The Rock to work with us for a bit. And that kind of stuff was constant, nonstop with us.
That is great. Did you film any of that stuff when those celebrities came in, or not allowed to?
Not allowed to in a lot of cases. Yeah. Photos, got still photos from all of it. But we're not allowed to film, no.
Yeah, that would have
You know
been
what I
worth
told
something.
Rock after? You know what I told Dwayne after he changed when he trained with us? I looked at him and I said, "I think you got potential, kid." I remember that. Yeah, he liked that. He thought that was good.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, you think? Yeah, you think you might have be something in the business? Yeah, maybe, right?
Yeah, maybe stick with it. Who knows what can happen,
Now,
right?
what happened to UPW? How did it like close? How did it end? What was like the end game there?
Oh God. Um, I pretty much fucked up the company. I went through a time in my life where, I lost my health, my dad, my daughter, my dogs, all in a very short period of time. And dude, I imploded. I just did not keep my eye on the business at all. And, I had a small staff of full-time staffers, Anthony Rosas, Todd Kennelly, Belinda Ackerman, and they were great people, amazing people. And they were on me, man. You got to keep an eye on things. And I wasn't. They did the best they could and they did a good job, but everything just started to slip away. And the final nail in the coffin was I had a MMA company at the same time called Valor Fighting. Now, when Valor and UPW were both at their peak, man, we were killing it like on every cylinder. It was amazing what we were able to do. But the final nail was as things are starting to fall apart and implode, I got into doing a show in San Diego for mixed martial arts that went awry at the last moment, and I got stuck holding the bag. And I wrote out checks for I think $150,000 that night, which about all but wiped me out. And I was just done, man. I didn't want to do anything after that, and I just walked away from it.
Wow, it's crazy. And Valor obviously, never came off the ground. But imagine Valor today in the current landscape with the pandemic and the studio and needing to have no fans and like that would have been over like Rover today. It would have been good.
Yeah, I mean, we had a good run for a while. I mean, I had a very similar deal with K1, and K1 at the time was a top fight company in the world, even above UFC. Had a deal with them that was very similar to the deal I had with WWF, later WWE. We were the American liaison for K1, which was a big deal back then. I was managing Ken Shamrock, Tank Abbott, Butterbean, Mark Coleman, Mark Kerr, Don Fry, Marco Huas, Dan Severn. I mean, all like, the original OGs, the icons from the heavyweight division from when UFC started. Was the first promoter in California to do a MMA show with an actual license from the Athletic Commission. Mirrored our DVD deals. Valor DVDs were in Target, Kmart, Walmart, everywhere. So had a hell of a run with Valor also, and did a lot of casino shows that we got paid really, really well for. So we had a good few years there for sure. But I imploded the two of them side by side, UPW and Valor at the same time.
You've had quite an interesting life. You think about it, the wrestling, the MMA, all the guys that you managed, the guys that you found. Such an interesting thing. And I think that Mark Coleman Takata story is interesting too, because you were there for that. So there's so many back in that pride when Coleman won't admit
Yeah.
it, but he admits it that he kind of took a dive in that fight. But that's just so interesting. Just the things you were there for, things that you were around for. It's just crazy.
Oh, dude, yeah, I mean, they're literally not hundreds, but thousands of stories like that. And, I have them all written out. I should send it to you sometime. I've got like just a little paragraph on each one, and it's pretty fun. And there are so many that it's obscene. And I can't even imagine what I've forgotten. I'll have every now and then somebody come to me and go, "Hey, remember when this happened?" Like Coleman, who just brought up. He told me something a couple of years ago that I completely forgot about. He goes, "Hey, Rick, remember that time we were in your gyms? I owned a mixed martial arts gym also in California. And I think we had Coleman and Kerr and a bunch of guys training for pro wrestling. And he botched a spot, Mark, and Mark was infamous for his temper back then. And this is, Mark the Hammer Coleman. At the time, he was considered the toughest man on the planet. So he goes into a Mark Coleman mode and starts like, yelling and cussing. And he told this story to me. I really didn't remember it. And apparently, we had members there, paying members in the gym. So I got in Mark's face and apparently yelled at him, cut a promo on him, and dressed him down in front of everybody and backed him off. And he's like, "Man," he goes, "nobody ever talked to me that way before. And like, we'll live to tell about it afterwards." I'm like, "That's awesome." But I didn't remember that. So God knows what I've forgotten over all the years.
True. Yeah, you never seen him destroy Igor Vochanson and stuff, so you got to be careful with Mark the Hammer
I
Coleman, you
know.
know?
He did beat Vovchanchyn in the Grand Prix. You're right.
Yeah, yep, in the
Dude,
finals,
Igor
yeah.
was a beast. Oh my God, was he a beast? Yeah.
One of the best ever, there's no doubt about it, but man, he gets him in that corner, and he just obliterated him, like, oof, man.
I got to watch that again. It's been a long time since I've seen that Grand Prix. That's interesting.
That was his comeback, basically, right, at that point.
It was. It was. We had tried to revive his deal at UFC and it didn't work out. Yes, we moved him over to Pride with that infamous Takata match. That was his start there, and then he went on to the Grand Prix from there, and the rest is history. Yeah, it was
That
some
is
good
great.
times. Yes, I got
You
to be in Japan with Mark and I were there together. I brought Mark Kerr there, Boss Rutan. I've got to by the good graces of pro wrestling and mixed martial arts, I've got to see a lot of this world. Got to adventure in the Democratic Republic of Congo with Nathan Jones and Luke Gallows. Uh, And then Luke and I put a couple shows on in Guyana, of all places, the little place in South America where Georgetown is. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. And brought Bill Goldberg there, and Viscera, and Katie Lee Burchill, and Gail Kim, and went to South Africa where I brought Kevin Nash and Warlord, and my buddies Nathan Jones and Sean O'Hara and Tom Howard. And dude, it just goes on and on and on. The countries, the friends, the adventures. Yeah, there's really no end to it.
How do you, because you're not a very big guy in stature, how do you tame all these giants that you hang around with? I know you're the little big man, but how do you tame all these guys?
I did my best to actually articulate that in writing as well. One of these years, I'll get my book out, and it's all in there. For some, I don't really know how to say this and not sound like an out of control, little egomaniacal, Napoleon complex kind of guy. I don't know. I've always somehow just innately had the ability to command. First of all, before I say to command respect, well, that's definitely part of it. Um, I like to think, and I don't think I'm fooling myself when I say this, I was able to develop friendships with almost everybody on a very, very equal footing. So we were friends first and foremost. On top of that, I think there was respect for what I was doing or trying to accomplish at least, where people would, willing to go along and be cool. I did have a few, near fights, near incidences where people weren't being cool and didn't want to go along with it. But those are the exceptions, not the rule. By far the exception. So just somehow always managed to work out. I would, before each show, backstage at UPW, and we had big, big crews. We'd always do a get together backstage and talk about what's going on and introduce our guests for the day, whoever they, whether Edge and Christian, the Hardys, whoever was with us that particular day. And it was amazing. I mean, everybody would be absolutely silent and all aboard and part of the crew. And it was just like, a big, happy family buzz. And that always seemed to be, not always, 99% was my experience in the pro wrestling world and in the mixed martial arts world both. Very rare there would be a negative incident.
Now, any guys you didn't get along with, like Cena, I know you guys didn't necessarily see eye to eye a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, there's been a few over the years for sure, but again, it's really the exception and not the rule. Guys that I have run-ins with, like legit run-ins, were Test, who's no longer with us, of course, Bubba Ray, who to this day and probably never will be one of my favorite human beings, but that's all right. I'm sure a lot of people love him, and that's great. Brian Knobs, who I love now. I mean, we're pals now. We had a little incident. Warrior, we had a face to face or face to chest, however you want to put it. Yeah, so there's been a few of those, but again, like Paul Orndorff, that story, of course, and that's about all I can think of, man. For the most part, it's been really, really good. Um, Most of the independent companies or any company you would get to know and you'd be part of backstage, there's always little warring factions or people causing problems. And it's kind of like, where someone's poisoning the well. And we were by and large able to avoid that at UPW. We did have one little group of small guys, of all things, come in and really be the first group that ever did that. And you wouldn't know any of their names. One guy had a pretty good run in Japan and as UPW lightweight champion. Um, and I'm like, what are these guys doing, man? This isn't how we operate here. And it took a while to figure out what was happening. And then we shut that shit down pretty hard and pretty fast. Um, Molina tried to do the same at UPW, and we shut that down pretty hard and pretty fast also. And the group was pretty good about policing for that sort of thing because everybody wanted to maintain the happy vibe.
Yep. And not to say anything bad about Cena, but you always hear the kind of thing that he's a little bit manufactured. Like everything is like very perfect. The way it's kind of maybe his PR team or whoever kind of has him very much in line. He knows the right thing to say. That he knows how to say it. Even when he's being vulnerable, he knows the right thing to say. Like I saw him on Ellen saying how vulnerable he is, and he was down on himself and his confidence. And she dug right in and she was loving that. And they're talking about his book. So I feel like sometimes Cena isn't exactly being not truthful, but it's a little bit manufactured. He's being almost a character.
hmm Here's all I'll say about that today. John knows exactly what he's doing. He's very disciplined and he's a very hard worker. And let's leave it at that.
Absolutely. Now, as far as kind of some other things, going on, like you've got MMA, you've got UPW, but you also said you wanted to finish that book. What's going on? Why haven't you finished it? Because it seems like you
No,
got a
the book
ton that.
is done, man. The
But
book's
how come
been
it's not out
done.
there to the masses?
The book actually, I finished it in 2013, so it's eight
Oh
years
my
ago
god.
now. And I'm actually looking at a copy of it behind the computer here. I finished in 2013, and I got a publishing deal right away through a major agent who I was lucky to get as a representative, and got me a really nice deal with Simon Schuster, one of the big publishing houses. And I was assigned an editor and a marketing rep. And in the process, I didn't like what either one was doing with the book. This At this time, I was consulting in India. I was making a lot of money. I was in really good shape financially. I got a nice advance from Simon Schuster, $50,000, which is a nice advance for a first-time author. But they thought they could do something with it, so they'll advance if they believe they can get it back, and then some. It's business. So in the course of the deal, working with the editor and the marketing rep, I decided to kill the deal. I gave them their advance back. That means the book couldn't go anywhere else for a period of 2 years. But nonetheless, what happened during that period of time is I decided to self-publish a book. And I raised money on Kickstarter to do it. And then I got very, very sick. And I spent 2013 to 2016 pretty much on my deathbed for about 3 years. And went for a back surgery. The back surgery got screwed up. I got massively infected during the surgery. And I ended up with staph and MRSA, which went septic. So it was gnarly. And it ate away my spine pretty quickly. So I had three more. One surgery became four back surgeries. And then they're blasting me so full of an antibiotic called vancomycin, which if you look it up, was always known as the drug of last resort. So that's pretty ominous in and of itself. And the vancomycin fried both my kidneys. So I ended up with double kidney failure on dialysis for a while. And then for the cherry on top, I had two strokes. And that really screwed me. I got better physically in 2016, but I was so shot mentally and emotionally at that point that it took me a good, isn't all that long ago. It felt good now on all fronts for just about a couple of years. So I'm finally at the point now, as I build the audience through the podcast, hopefully, and through everything else I'm doing, that I'll feel like it's worth a shot to try to get the book out again. It's more been about surviving these past few years rather than being proactive and starting new things.
You regret not just going ahead with the book, or you just didn't like what they wanted you to do with it? Was it too negative?
There were two problems with it in my mind. On the editing side, the book is all written in the first person, and people that read it, I hear the same thing every time. It's like, wow, Rick, I really like your style. It's like you're having a conversation with just me. And the editor wanted to change the whole thing to third person, kind of like, and then this happened, and then that happened. And I wrote every bit of the book like it was present tense, even though some stuff happened 40 years ago. It's a different style. The editor wanted to change the whole thing stylistically, which for me was a deal killer in and of itself. The marketing side of it, and then I understood where the advance came from. The big advance was at that time wrestling books, Rey Mysterio and everybody under the sun, fighting books, Chuck Liddell and everybody else, they were coming out one after the other, and they were all doing well because there was an immediate audience that was easy to reach and target. And I saw pretty quickly that the intention of Simon Schuster was to market the book that same way, get what we could out of the wrestling side, out of the fighting side, and then shelve it, so to speak. And my issue with that, I'd say twofold, probably more than that. One, the book is not a pro wrestling or MMA book. I mean, that stuff is in there for sure. And it's an important part of the book, but it's definitely not what you call a wrestling book or a fighting book. Secondly, with all respect to the Rey Mysterios and the Chuck Liddells, both of whom are friends, the books aren't that great. I'll just come out and say that. Um, and that's a negative. It's not meant toward them. I believe I'm stating a fact. The other side of it is this: even if the books aren't very good, Rey Mysterio is a million times bigger name in the pro wrestling world than I ever will be. And the same goes for Chuck Liddell in the MMA world. So I'm like, Simon Schuster, you guys have it wrong. I mean, yeah, we'll reach some people because some people in the MMA world, some people in the pro wrestling world know me. So maybe they'll buy it for the wrestling stories and the fighting stories. You won't get Mysterio sales. You won't get Chuck Liddell sales. But what you're going to miss is the appeal this book might have marketed properly to everybody else in the world. And it was just, to me, it was just, the whole thing was horribly conceived. That's all.
Do you have any regrets about not going ahead with that that time, just giving in, or there was just no way you're not going to do that, not
No,
going to give it up?
the only regret I have, John. Okay, let me reach over the computer here. So this is a manuscript, as we call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I had printed out like at Office Max and bound, right? And I love the cover art. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The back cover. It's all done the way a book's supposed to be done. My only regret is I don't have a real book to hold in my hands. I think that would be cool. That's all. And to send to friends because I think that would be fun. But I know with as much certainty as I can, since it didn't happen, I can't be completely certain, but I know as well as I possibly can that had the book been put out, it would have been pushed to wrestling world, pushed to fighting world, and then it would have been killed, and it would have done nothing. I'm convinced of that. So I could probably wrestle up a deal right now. I'm energized, I'm connected again, things are happening, but I'm just going to say this: my entire life, I've pushed and pushed and pushed and forced to make things happen, and I don't do that anymore. I'm not lazy, far from it. I haven't gone completely off my rocker. Oh, when the universe is ready, then I'll know. But I do believe in that to a degree now. I'll know when the time is right, and it's just not right yet. That's all.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, as far as the current day product, do you follow any current wrestling? I know you didn't catch WrestleMania, but do you follow the current product at all?
But I don't watch the product now. I'm aware of what's out there to a degree, only because, God, I hate to sound like I keep endorsing Figure Four Weekly. I read the Meltzer sheet every week. I like to read it. It kind of keeps me up with what's happening around the world, and I do stay in touch with a few friends that are still active in the business. So, Sting, for instance, Tom Howard and Teresa Serrano, Zoe Stark now, and a few others. So because of that, I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on. I don't have cable where I live. I know there's a lot of different ways to subscribe and watch the product. I will every now and then look at stuff on YouTube if I heard something really cool happen, whether it's from Japan or AEW or WWE or whomever. But I can't really tell you I'm up on things like storylines or even who the various champions are at this point.
Are you friends with Meltzer?
No, no. Meltzer's an odd duck, man. Do you know him?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Dave for a long, long time, and I don't know. There's always been a disconnect between us and our ability to relate for some reason. He's obviously a very, very intelligent and very successful guy, and I love his product. Like I said, I still read it every week. Um, But and he used to cover us back in the day regularly. And I remember being on his show once, and he may not admit to this. I did a show with him and Brian Alvarez about 5 years ago. And afterwards, he's like, "Wow, that might be the best interview we ever did." I'm like, "Holy shit, wow!" Um, but I haven't been able. Not it's not. This is not bitterness. Honest to God, it's not. I tried to connect with him for quite a while to see if he would cover Talking Tough, but got completely kayfabed by him. And that went on for about a year, and I stopped trying. Doesn't mean I stopped following him or reading the product, but there's just no connection any longer. That's all.
Gotcha. Interesting, though. You're his best interview. Then he doesn't get you back on. Wouldn't you want a follow up or a couple follow ups?
I don't know. He's got other things he's on to. He's built himself an empire there, and I believe there is a rhyme or reason to what he does. I think it'd be fun to go back on with him, but if it's not right for him, it's not right for him. That's all.
Now, what's going on with Talking Tough? What's the latest?
Talking tough. Well, lining up, bit of a hiatus. We stacked up a lot of interviews, as you know, and some really cool
Hmm.
guests. Then I started the We Win brand of Talking Tough, where we talk to people that are like in the midst of battles with stage 4 cancer. And we're really trying to instill some hope and inspire people that are in that experience right now. So that got me off topic for a minute, or lack of focus or attention. But we're lining up some great guests right now, and we'll be back on again. Hopefully, it'll look like we haven't skipped too many beats. And ultimately, over time, I hope to really build the brand. I love the theme. The world's toughest men and women at their most vulnerable, and we've had some outrageous guests on, not just from the fighting and wrestling worlds, although some very good guests from those worlds, as you know. But guys like the head of the Hells Angels and former child soldiers from the war in the Sudan, and man, we've got these people to open up. They're not just telling their war stories. That's part of it, because fans expect to hear certain things when you have Jake Roberts on or you have Mark Kerr on. But man, we get into the psyche with everybody, and I really enjoy doing it. It's just peeling back the layers, so to speak, and diving in, and it's a great experience. And like the book, things sometimes take time, and you got to nurture and baby rather than force. But I do believe over time, Talking Tough will become a very relevant and very popular brand.
And we win. What's been going on? I know you've got a lot of stuff going on and coming down, and been excuse me, helping a lot of people with We Win.
Yeah, it's been really cool. So, We Win, for people that aren't familiar with it, is a platform for people that are either survivors of cancer, for people that are in the midst of the battle, and for the family members of those people to come to find some hope and inspiration. Because there's a lot of work being done in that space. But by and large, if you go to the various sites, the various podcasts that cover that world, it's largely doom and gloom. It's like, here's what's going on with me, and it's horrible, and that's okay. You need that out there. It's good information, but the mood of it is so dark that I decided to create a platform that was. It's hard to say the positive side of cancer, because that sounds obviously like a contradiction in terms, and I understand that, but it's about taking a look about what you can do to maintain a positive outlook while you're in the battle. If you were in it and you won, what did you do that you could help people that are in it now do so they have a better chance? So I'm getting now literally hundreds of messages every single day from people that we're affecting and touching, and it's really gratifying. And lately, largely through Dallas Page supporting it, through Boss Rutan supporting it, we're having a lot of other people come to the platform now who have major challenges in their life that are being inspired by We Win. These are people whose challenges are not necessarily cancer. It could be weight loss. It could be ALS. It could be recovery from a bad breakup. And it's been really cool to have this platform where we're like very raw, very open, very honest, very upfront about the problem. But rather than focusing on the problem, it's about what you can do to maybe have a different look at it or treat it differently, so you increase your chances for a better outcome. And it's gratifying. It's really something else doing it. I love it.
Seems like it's helping a lot of people for sure. I mean, it just
Definitely.
seems like a
Definitely.
very positive influence on people. Talk about it, kind of work through a lot of things, and meet like people that also are going through the same thing or went through the same thing.
Yeah. It's amazing what's happening with that, with exactly what you just said right now. I got a series of messages today on Messenger from a lady I had connected with recently in Philadelphia, whose daughter is young 20s, beautiful girl, just had a baby of her own in a really nice marriage, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, the daughter. And she's at a point now where mentally and emotionally she's starting to give up. And I was able to connect with mother and daughter just a few days ago and had a great conversation with them. So I'll still do the conversations every now and then, private conversations. Can't do them every day the way I used to, but I still like to do it as much as I can. And the mother reached out to me today saying she's in a really bad place. If you read this series of messages, I mean, it's downright heartbreaking. And those are the places where I'll drop everything and jump all over that. And I was able to. The daughter was not returning the mother's calls. The mother was getting very worried, even though they're very close. The girl was shutting down, and I messaged her and I sent her something fun with my dogs because I didn't want her, thinking I was calling just to talk about the horrible, dark stuff. And I got her on the phone, and man, we had a great conversation. And she's like, God, this helps so much. Thank you. Yeah, I realize that it is my choice to look at things differently, and I know I can do that. And it was a complete 180 from where she was um, just hours before that. And it's yeah, I love doing it, man. It's just a great thing to be able to be part of. Absolutely.
Where can everybody find everything about We Win and kind of connect with you or Facebook or however they kind of can go about it?
The hub for all points of connection is www.talking-tough.com. On there, you'll see the We Win brand. You'll see all the past archives for our podcasts. A link to that's the Talking Tough podcast, of course, and the We Win podcast. All my social media is linked there. My personal pages or platforms, as well as all the Talking Tough platforms, and our YouTube channel as well, where all the Talking Tough video shows are posted, as well as some other stuff like me getting the shit kicked out of me by the pit boss, the little guy from the old Pitbull Rescue show, and all kinds of fun. Me doing the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge and getting nailed by X-Pac and Booker T and Roddy Piper and that sort of thing. So that's on our YouTube, and everything is at www.talking-tough.com.
All right, awesome stuff. Rick, it's always a blast getting to chat with you. Good luck, obviously, with everything, and thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Now, thanks for having me on, John. Apologies for being so tired today. I'm pretty worked and pretty out of it. You're always great to come on with because you bring the best out of us. That's for sure. So thank you. I appreciate it very much.